China is dealing with the impact of powerful storms as it braces for yet another on its way.
Scores have died. In the southern autonomous region of Guangxi, authorities have deployed drones to deliver supplies to remote villages cut off by damaged roads and landslides. These include bread and drinking water. The area coping with the aftermath of Typhoon Bavi, which has claimed at least 6 lives.
A series of dam breaches inundated large swathes of land, affecting some 375,000 residents. Local fire and rescue and the Water Resources Department have been mobilized to help with relief operations. Receding waters have aided their efforts as work begins on restoring power as well as repairing damaged roads and bridges.
And further north in Hubei province, twin tornadoes and accompanying gale force winds have killed 11 and injured more than 330. One person remains missing as rescuers comb through destroyed structures and vehicles for survivors. At least 20 homes were destroyed and nearly 5,000 more damaged. More than 14,000 were affected by the violent storms. Authorities have set aside some $10 million to help resettle those displaced.
And over in Gansu province, 21 people were killed in a landslide near a village. Reports say the victims were part of a group of 33 forestry workers who were on maintenance duty when the disaster occurred. Rescue work has concluded, but local authorities say the site remains unstable and have warned of secondary land shifts due to rain, erosion, and area's steep terrain. In the meantime, China's east coast is bracing for the arrival of Super Typhoon Bavi, which is forecast to make landfall this weekend. Well, the storm, packing winds of 290 kilometers per hour, is on track to hit the southern coast of Zhejiang province. Bavi has already tore through several South Pacific islands, leaving tens of thousands without power. While such storms are not uncommon, scientists warn that climate change has made their frequency greater and more intense.
And for more, we're joined by, or rather from one of the storms that we're seeing in China and the increasing intensity. Let's speak with Hui Su, Chair, Professor and Global STEM Professor at Hong Kong University of Science and Technology. So, Professor Su, we thank you for your time today. I just want to get a clear picture on the situation with China. So, extreme weather there in the southern and central China with super typhoon headed towards the eastern provinces. Just how unusual is this scale and intensity, and really what is producing this sort of widespread flooding as well as destruction that we're seeing?
Yeah, this Typhoon Bavi is extremely dangerous. It's like central wind speed, like you mentioned, it's already reached over 290 kilometers per hour, and its size is also like thousands of kilometers. And it's expected to make landfall in the eastern part of China this weekend. So it will bring torrential rains and probably prolong the droughts in the wide area over the eastern, central, and northern China. So this is consequence of this unusual season, and also probably complicated by the upcoming El Nino, and maybe over this backdrop of long-term warming.
Indeed, authorities are also warning that the heavy rain is far from over, but with the ground already saturated in many areas. Professor, just how much more vulnerable do these regions become if another major storm hits?
Yeah, I think this upcoming storm will bring torrential rains and will cause like this extreme weather and destructive winds that will cause a lot of damages in these areas.
Indeed. And China, we understand, has invested heavily in flood control infrastructure over the past 20 years or so. But just looking at what's happened this week, where do you think the system fell short?
Because of this abruptness and also severity of this extreme weather, so a lot of local infrastructure could not withhold this like a heavy rain. So I think like there are a lot of efforts ongoing to predict those extreme storms, but this the severity of this storm is still very difficult to predict precisely. And China also implemented multi-hazard warning system, but in terms of the infrastructure, and there are still some gaps that need to be fixed.
Yeah, Professor, you talked about, the abruptness, the severity, and the confluence of factors really making this more intense weather destruction. So I'm wondering, when planning for future infrastructure in China, what are some considerations, or what do you think future infrastructure could look like? And also, do you think, nature-based solutions for example, wetlands, do they have a bigger role to play in future planning?
Oh, yes, yeah. I think this is one area that China is trying to implement, like sponge cities with permeable land surfaces, like a nature-based solution, mangroves, and the wetland that could help to increase the climate resilience of the coastal cities. That those efforts are ongoing.
Okay. We also saw, footage of snakes in the floodwaters after villages were flooded. Could you also share more about the secondary public health as well as environmental risks, and also things like the contamination of drinking water and the disease outbreaks? And what else do authorities need to be prepared for beyond the immediate rescue efforts and funding?
Yeah, this is a very good point. I think during this storm, we've seen a lot of compound effects for the health threats. So I think the government has policies to increase this responsiveness to those extreme weather, and there are millions of dollars being put into the rescue efforts. So to dealing with that, I think needs coordination between different sectors, and also more advanced warning system to alert people. So those efforts are being put into force, but certainly there are still gaps from the local and this response system. So I think there are still work need to be done.
Indeed. And Professor, given that you are the chair professor of Hong Kong University of Science and Technology, I wonder, because we are hearing reports of AI and satellite-based forecasting becoming much more sophisticated, I wonder how much difference can these technologies make?
Oh, yeah. Once we have those advanced monitoring network from satellites or from surface, combined with the AI technology, we can make a better forecast in more advanced time. So I think this is very promising directions. So we can actually have more longer lead time to alert people and make some preparations for upcoming storms. So this will help actually reduce the damages associated with those extreme weather.
All right. And finally, Professor, Super Typhoon Bavi is set to make landfall very soon. What are the biggest concerns, challenges you think in the coming days?
Yeah, I think this typhoon, because of the strength, so we expect very strong winds and heavy precipitation. So it will cause a lot of floodings in the coastal cities. So that we need to put a lot of precautions and maybe be prepared to evacuate people and reinforce some infrastructures. So I think that's the local people already been prepared to deal with those difficulties.
All right. Appreciate your time today. Hui Su, the Chair Professor and Global STEM Professor, the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology.